You know what's terrifying? Right now, someone's lying in bed, wide awake, physically exhausted, but mentally wired, scrolling through someone else's success story, thinking the same thought they've been thinking for 5 years straight. I could have done that. And the worst part? They're probably right. They absolutely could have, but they didn't. And deep down, they know exactly why. And it's not what you think. The psychology of wasted potential isn't about lacking talent or intelligence or opportunity. It's about something way more insidious that's happening in your brain every single day. And according to neuroscience, you might be actively choosing to waste your potential without even realizing it. Here's what nobody tells you: your brain is designed to keep you alive, not to make you successful. And those two goals are often in direct conflict. Every time you think about doing something big, your brain runs a threat assessment. And here's what it concludes: success is dangerous. Success means visibility. Visibility means judgment. Judgment means potential rejection. And rejection, to your ancient limbic system, feels like death. So your brain does what it's designed to do: it protects you. It whispers logical sounding reasons why now isn't the right time, why you need to learn more first, why you should wait until conditions are perfect. And you believe it because it sounds so reasonable. Psychologists call this the comfort zone, but that term is way too soft for what's actually happening. It's not comfort, it's a psychological cage you've built yourself, decorated with rationalizations and Netflix and just enough progress to feel like you're not completely stagnant. You're not comfortable. You're sedated. And here's the thing that'll mess you up: wasted potential isn't usually about doing nothing. It's about doing everything except the one thing that actually matters. You're busy. You're productive. You're checking off tasks. But if someone asked you to name the one thing you did this month that moved you toward the life you actually want, you'd struggle to answer because you've confused motion with progress. And your brain loves that confusion because motion without risk feels safe. Research shows that people consistently overestimate how much time they have and underestimate how quickly patterns become permanent. You think, I'll start seriously pursuing this next year. But next year, you'll be a slightly older version of someone who says next year. Every day, you choose distraction over direction. You're not staying neutral. You're actively becoming someone who chooses distraction. That's who you're practicing being. But there's something even deeper going on. For a lot of people, wasted potential is actually a sophisticated form of self protection. As long as you haven't really tried, you can't really fail. You can live in this beautiful space of, I could if I wanted to. Its potential is identity. And that identity feels safer than actual achievement because achievement can be measured, judged, found lacking. Potential is infinite. It can't be disproven until suddenly you're 45, and it definitely can be. Let me hit you with something harsh. Some people are addicted to the fantasy of success more than they want the reality of it. The fantasy is perfect. You imagine the end result, the recognition, the accomplishment, and your brain releases dopamine just from imagining it. But actually doing the work, that's hard, boring, uncertain, painful. So you get your hit from the daydream and never build the real thing. You're basically getting high on your own unrealized potential. And social media has turned this into an epidemic. You watch someone's highlight reel and think, I need to do that. So you get motivated for 48 hours. You start strong. Then reality hits. It's harder than it looked. Results don't come immediately. And quietly, secretly, you quit. But you don't announce that you quit. You just slowly stop. 6 months later, you're watching someone else's highlight reel, feeling that same burst of motivation, starting that same cycle. You're not trying to succeed. You're trying to feel like the kind of person who tries to succeed. There's a massive difference. Here's what researchers found: people with unrealized potential often have what's called an external locus of control. Translation: they believe success happens to people, not because of people. They're waiting for the right opportunity, the right connection, the right moment when everything aligns. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear: there is no right moment. There's only now, and what you choose to do with it. And let's talk about the stories you're telling yourself. I'm too old to start now. I don't have the right background. People like me don't do things like that. Every one of these statements is a neural pathway you've reinforced so many times it feels like objective reality. But it's not. It's just a story you've told yourself so consistently that your brain accepts it as fact. And here's the thing about the brain, it doesn't distinguish between actual limitations and believed limitations. But there's another pattern, and this one's insidious. Some people waste their potential because they're terrified of finding out they're not as special as they thought. There's this secret comfort in, I never really tried, so I never found my limit. But if you actually went all in and still didn't make it, that would mean your ceiling is real, not theoretical. And that's an existential crisis most people would rather avoid. So they stay in permanent potential, never testing the limits, never knowing for sure. It's cowardice dressed up as caution. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, basically a filter that decides what information gets your attention. And it's programmed by what you focus on. If you focus on why you can't, your brain will find evidence everywhere. If you focus on how you might, your brain will find paths forward. You're not seeing reality. You're seeing a customized version of reality based on what you've trained your brain to look for. And here's the part that should scare you: wasted potential compounds. Every year you don't act, it gets exponentially harder to start. Not because you're less capable, but because you're more invested in the identity of someone who doesn't act. You've built a life around your limitations, friends who enable your excuses, routines that avoid discomfort, an entire ecosystem designed to keep you exactly where you are. So, what does all this mean? If you're sitting on potential you haven't used, you need to get brutally honest. You're not waiting for the right time. You're waiting for a version of success that doesn't require risk, discomfort, or the possibility of failure. And that version doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. The gap between who you are and who you could be isn't about resources or knowledge or connections. It's about whether you're willing to be bad at something before you're good at it, whether you're willing to be judged, whether you're willing to try and fail publicly instead of succeed privately in your imagination. Your potential isn't wasted because you lack something. It's wasted because you're protecting it. And the cruelest irony is that by protecting it, you're guaranteeing it dies with you, unused, unproven. Just a beautiful story you told yourself about who you might have been. Time's ticking, not to pressure you, just to remind you. Every day, you're not becoming who you could be. You're becoming more of who you currently are. And that's either terrifying or motivating, depending on whether you're finally ready to stop spectating your own life. If this made you uncomfortable, good. You now have the fuel you needed to start your redemption arc.